In this video, I'm going to give you 7 ways to rent a house or apartment with bad credit or no credit. Stay till the very end because I'm going to give you a specific strategy on how to go about this process no matter which option you choose. I am a property owner who vets tenants, and I'm also an employer who helps place team members into housing. And oftentimes when I am screening tenants and placing team members, I run into situations where they have no credit or they have a poor credit score, and that makes it really difficult for them to find housing. And oftentimes it's a reason that they had unexpected medical expenses that they've gone behind on, or they've co-signed on a bad auto loan with a spouse or significant other they're not with, or maybe they're going through a divorce and they've missed payments because of everything that's going on during the divorce battle. So let's jump into the 7 strategies. Number 1, you're able to get a co-signer who has a great credit score. I am more confident as a property owner getting someone with good credit onto the lease. That way it can hold not only you, but the co-signer accountable if the rent doesn't get paid. If number 1's not an option, move to number 2. Offer to pay the property management company or the private owner of the property an upfront additional security deposit that they can use towards rent if you do, for whatever reason, get behind. So you can offer to double the security deposit. That way they have peace of mind knowing that 1 month is already prepaid for. The other option is to just say up front, hey, I ran into this situation. I have poor credit right now. I'm rebuilding it. But what I can do is I can prepay X amount of months of rent just to give you the confidence. And lastly, if you don't have a large amount of money up front, you can offer to do automatic payments through your bank account. So you could say something like, hey, just to ensure that you get your money on time every month, I can arrange with my bank to direct deposit every month the full rent amount on the 28th. If those 2 options don't work, move to number 3. Oftentimes, property management companies won't be as lenient with low credit scores, so go to a property that is listed by a private owner. Sometimes you can talk directly to them and they'll give you a little bit of flexibility on the credit score, especially if you meet face to face and they get a really good feeling about the conversation with you. The next option is to rent a part of the house, whether you rent out 1 or 2 rooms. That way you're not tied to a lease with a landlord, but you're almost subleasing the property from either the property owner or someone else that's leasing the entire house. Typically, when we've rented rooms at our house, we have not checked credit scores because it's a much smaller amount to rent a room, and because they're physically on our property, it would be easier to kick them out than to get a tenant out of a property that they solely occupy. Option number 5 is to look into low credit or no credit apartments. There are several websites where you can search your zip code and find apartment complexes that accept no or low credit. So check some of those out online and I will link them in the description below. If all those options fail, I have some creative options for you. Look into Airbnb and hotels in the area. Stay in one of these places while you build up your credit score. With Airbnb and VRBO, hotel prices have dropped and Airbnb prices have dropped to where they're really competitive, especially if you're looking into a long-term stay. I have several team members that work for us that stay at a hotel Monday through Friday because it's actually cheaper for them to stay at a hotel than to rent out a place permanently in the area that we live in. Lastly, let's talk strategy. When you're looking at a place and you're calling up the property owner or the property management company, don't call them up and say, hey, do you accept bad or low credit? That is just a bad way to give the first impression and start the interaction. What you want to do instead is say, hey, I'm looking at your property. It's really beautiful. We're really interested. I'm just writing down a list of credentials that you're expecting when you choose a tenant to occupy this property. Would you mind giving me those? And basically from there, they're probably going to give you an income amount that they're looking for, credit score that they're looking for, and referrals from previous landlords. Once you get your foot in the door, try to set up a showing, and then once you have that face-to-face interaction, then you can get a little bit more personal with them and say, hey, you know, I have great referrals, I have this stable job, I can show you my bank statements. One thing that I'm lacking right now is my credit score is a little low, and it's because of XYZ. Is there any way that you can work with me on that? As a property owner, I've definitely worked with people with low credit scores, and it's because I got a good vibe from them when I met them in person. I've also accepted co-signer situations or larger amounts up front to prepay rent, and also showing me proof of their savings with their bank statements just gives me more confidence that they do have the money to be able to afford this property. And the last thing I wanted to mention when it comes to strategy, if you're looking for a property and you see one that's been on the market for a while, that is probably a good one to go for. It might not be your top pick, but the landlord may rather have the property occupied by someone with a lower credit score than left completely unoccupied for months on end. I hope these tips were useful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.